Hope everybody got a quick drink of coffee, chatted with a few folks. We're going to move on to our next section, and I'm actually super excited about this. There's a fundamental but often overlooked truth in youth sports that you can't play if you don't have the space. There's real challenges in our ecosystem around access. So thinking about access and safe, quality fields, courts, and facilities that kids need in order to play, in thinking about this in new and innovative ways is critically important to our continued growth and development in youth sports. I'm super excited to introduce this next moderator. I played soccer, but I came from a big track family. I was the weird one to play soccer. My dad ran track at San Jose State with Tommy Smith and John Carlos, so I come from, like, track is in my blood. So when I got to see that Benita Fitzgerald-Mosley was going to be here today, I had a little moment. So on top of being an Olympic gold medalist, Benita has her own league apps roots, having served as their former VP of Community and the president of the Fund Play Foundation, and now serving on the Fund Play Foundation board. She's the CEO of Multiplying Good, a nonprofit organization that believes in applying service as a tool for personal growth, and I am excited to welcome her to the stage.
Testing. Oh yeah, it's working. Good. It's still morning, right? Good morning, everybody. So great to be back. When I walked in, I've only been gone from League Apps a little over 3 months, and so just being back, seeing all my colleagues is just awesome. And we did the Fun Play Summit yesterday for our first ever as a separate 501c3 Fun Play Foundation. And so to see all of this come to fruition, to be back in person with all of you today for NextUp is really a perfect, I guess, coming back, homecoming situation. So thank you, Danielle. John, Carlos, and Tommy Smith are certainly track royalty. And so I really am amazed that your dad actually got to run on the same track with them. As Danielle was saying, the reality for youth sports today is that play spaces are just at a premium, and they're just too hard to find. I was with the Fun Play Summit yesterday, and many of those organizations are smaller nonprofits, and you think you guys have a hard time finding spaces. Try being a small fledgling organization, and just kind of, maybe it's early in the morning, 6 to 9, somebody was talking about it. It's late in the evening where you finally have access, and so it's a premium. And it's also an area of rapid change and innovation. And these gentlemen on the panel this morning are going to talk through how space is being secured and financed and managed and utilized. And last year, we at Fun Play were trying in the last couple of years to fill that gap for communities in underserved communities, people in underserved communities. And we did that first by donating $90,000, and we raised that much money, and we built 2 play spaces in Inglewood, California this year that opened in May. We got to be there for the ribbon cutting. And a year ago, we gave $50,000 to South Bronx United to build a mini pitch in their brand new offices in the Bronx. So it just highlights the need for play spaces, but also how to go about helping to fill that gap. As an Olympic gold medalist, I certainly have seen the benefit of youth sports throughout my entire life, and a huge part of my career has also been ensuring that kids have access to sports, and so I'm really excited to facilitate the panel. I will start with the introductions. Tim is at my far left. He's a managing director of sport and entertainment at Transwestern. He's a real estate executive. And he has a long-term mindset, and he has his eyes set on the future. But through his firm, TAC, he's helped to change basketball development and entertainment forever. Many of you have probably heard about Overtime Elite basketball program. A couple of twin brothers made it into the NBA this year, the biggest names so far to come into that program. And I think they were 4th and 5th in the NBA? Yeah.
Top 5 picks.
Yeah, they're amazing. And it's a transformative new sports league that offers the world's most talented young basketball players a different route if they decide they are not wanting to go to college straight out of high school. So welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
Next, we have Craig Dixon. He's right here to my immediate left. He's a co-founder and CEO of the St. James. I live in Northern Virginia, and have visited the facility several times. Not a member because it's a little bit too far for that. But it's how many? 400?
Than you think. We're closer than you think. We're going to talk after.
Okay, we'll talk after. Because it's amazing.
450,000 square feet.
400, yeah, you guys, 400. It's got everything from a spa to dining. It's got indoor soccer fields, obviously lots of volleyball and basketball, 2 hockey rinks, a swim
A 50 meter
pool plus a
indoor water park.
And we've got
space.
We've got golf. We've got
golf simulators, squash courts.
Yeah. It's out of control. So he also does facilities management and M&A litigation in his background in venture capital, and so we're really excited to have Craig join the conversation.
I always love to be here at NextUp.
And last but not least, in the middle here, we have Jason Clement. He's a co-founder and CEO of Sports Facilities Companies. We met a few months ago at the Project Play Summit. Jason is known as a sought-after resource in the travel sports space, and he's going to lend his voice and does to lots of industry associations. So welcome, all of you. Welcome, Jason. Welcome, all of you. I want to start by just, I've given a brief introduction, but I want each of you to share a little bit about your current work and your role as it relates to sports facilities. Just get a little bit deeper into that, play spaces, real estate development, et cetera. I'll start with you, Tim.
Sure. Well, thanks to NextUp and Lee Apps for having me. A pleasure sharing the stage with you all, and excited to be here. So Benita hit on it. Overtime Elite's the flashy thing that I helped launch, but my background was kind of as an angel investor and had invested in Overtime. Always had a passion for the built environment, and when it came to this idea of starting a new league, I raised my hand. I said, hey, I'd love to be a part of that. So helped structure the strategy of all that, but really the thing I'm most proud of is the facility we built. We built a 103,000 square foot arena and practice facility in less than 6 months in the heart of Atlanta. And like I said, always a passion for the built environment. And at the time, I was a client of Transwestern. So Transwestern is one of the largest privately held real estate firms in the US, everything from brokerage to financing to market expansion. And we started a sports entertainment group in January, really to capitalize on the growth of sports entertainment, everything from youth facilities to a new Phoenix Suns business headquarters and WNBA practice facility for the Mercury that we just announced. And yeah, excited to talk more about it, and especially be with these incredible operators to my right, as well as Benita, because I think we'll talk about it a little bit today, just how important the operational piece is, and not necessarily if you build it, they will come, but the kind of analysis and really market thought and care for what you're building and why. So, again, I'm excited to talk with you all about those things.
Go ahead, Tim.
Jason Clement with Sports Facilities Companies. We exist to improve the health and economic vitality of our country, and we get to do that one community at a time. We do that through developing and managing the highest performing complexes in the country. That's our vision, at least. We're in 22 states now, 35 million guest visits annually into the venues that we operate. We've got 2,500 team members doing the work. And right now, we're doing studies for 72 new facilities around the country. 21 are under development at this point in time. And then we manage 50 that comprises those 30 million visits. So looking forward to talking about what we're seeing in terms of trends, and hopefully serving any and all of you who are considering sports facility needs. Just by a show of hands, how many of you have a need to get more access to space and facilities in what you're doing? Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig?
Really excited to be back at NextUp and to share the stage with Tim and Jason. The St. James, we develop and operate premium destinations for sports, wellness, and active fun. And our mission is to maximize human potential through the power of sports and wellness. And I came to this, my partner and I came to this because we were the kind of kids who would have loved to have had access to a place like the St. James. And we're parents of those kids now, and so we really kind of come at it from the customer perspective, and so we're building. We have multiple locations in the DC area, and we're looking to expand across the country.
Awesome. I'm going to go back to follow up what you were saying, Tim, about if you build it, they will come. People, I think, in the past have had a mentality that if there's a sports facility, then everyone's going to gravitate to it just because it's convenient, or it's basketball, or I play basketball. But there's a lot more that goes into it. You started to allude to that in your opening statement, but I want you to delve a little bit deeper into what makes a sports facility sing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic or funny for me to be up here saying that when these are the guys who are actually executing on that vision. So, like with the St. James, talking about all the incredible amenities and facilities you have, you didn't just come up with that because you wanted to. You came up with it through a sophisticated analysis that understood what the market need was and what kind of demand there would be to fulfill. And so to see the show of hands about those of you in need of facilities, that's a great problem to have versus having a facility with nobody who could occupy that facility, right? So that's really what I get at when I say, it's time and time again, potential clients come to me and say, oh, we really need a new basketball facility. It's like, okay, let's talk about the market. Let's talk about what currently exists. Are you operating clubs? Do you have access to the clubs? Where are the clubs playing now? How are you going to compete with the high school and public facilities that are out there? The list goes on and on and on. And so what we do is we help put together really a full market analysis of what the need is, and then go against that with what the opportunity is for whoever that operator is. So I'd love to get your opinions, Jason and Craig, on that as well, because I think of you two as really the best in class for those who see that way and who have built and developed successfully that way.
Appreciate it, Tim. So, we have a really interesting problem because you can go to events like this or go to any kind of association or organization, and everybody will say, we don't have enough places to play. But hundreds of billions of dollars
Yes.
are being spent every year on developing and operating places to play. When you look across private facilities, you look across public school systems, state and local governments, universities, and the like. So it's a really interesting problem, because you would think that we would figure out how to provide more satisfaction to people who want to access it, but because we have this high degree of fragmentation, we just haven't been able to do that yet. It's a really thorny problem, and one that I'm excited about, because I think that if you can start to really coalesce these different groups, including the private development community, and have people who really have operational excellence and efficiency as their kind of expertise, helping to figure out how you leverage the built environment, technology, and just operational excellence to provide more access and financial sustainability, then we'll start to get some relief, and that's kind of what we focus on.
And I think, I could turn you loose on the public school facility aspect of it, because, so many of them just lay bare and empty for the better part of the time. And finding better ways to, utilize those would be great. Jason, Tim was saying something about someone comes to him and says, I want to build a basketball facility, but kind of single-use facilities are a bit a thing of the past. And I'm wondering, what evaluation you go through, or as the owner of the facility and as a developer of a facility, when you're thinking about how best to utilize a facility.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Tim knows I'm from Iowa and love the movie Field of Dreams, so it's probably why you got that quip in. It's not build it and they will come. It's build it and know they're coming because of the work and the analysis and the marketing and the business development prior to grand opening. But if I'm an operator or a club or an association, thinking through that perspective, because I think that's what the majority of the people in the room are right now, oftentimes we've got a myopic perspective around, hey, I want to run my basketball thing or my volleyball thing. And in reality, because of the cost of construction right now, because of the financing climate, these places are just more expensive to build today than they were even 2 or 3 years ago. Our team, who's doing some of this predictive analytics, shared that they're actually 55% more expensive to build than they were just 3 years ago, which means all of the things that Craig talked about are critically important. These spaces can't be designed just for a sport or just for even a couple of sports. a basketball gym or a court isn't just for basketball, volleyball, cheer and dance, gymnastics anymore. How you layer in technology and utilize that space for other things. I know in the summary it's like, hey, eSports kind of bad, but how do you put the technology in there so that you can utilize that space for trade shows and conventions and other things? Because the developer and the owner of these facilities have to find a way to pay for it. And partnerships with the people in this room are critically important. Making sure that these gyms or these spaces are filled with the best operators. Not every operator, not every event, not every league, camp, clinic is created equal. So partnering with the very best is really important. And then figuring out how you can provide ancillary services that generate income to help pay for the space is really important. So, a 50-meter pool isn't just used for lap swim and swim lessons and all of the traditional things that you think about. There are ninja courses over the top of those now in a lot of different ways, that a pool can be utilized. So exactly.
But you have to plan for that and build for that.
That's right. And it's funny, when our analytical team does the feasibility work for these up front, over 30% are feasibility no. Because whoever the visionary is saying, I am a soccer guy or soccer gal only. All due respect to soccer, we love soccer. But you've got to be able to do other things, sport and non-sport, to activate these spaces to make them work.
Right. I actually have been advocating with our local Prince William County Board of Supervisors to build an indoor sports facility. I really do think I need to consult with all of you to really help them figure out the vision and the full utilization model. So Craig, I kind of have two questions. One is related to accessibility from a standpoint of all kids having access to the wonderful facilities that either you're building or managing. And I know that initially you built this huge facility and that was one part of the model. You thought about going other cities, building facilities. You may still be doing that, but managing those facilities and building those partnerships are something you've kind of moved more into fully. Wondering how those two things come together. In other words, how do you build partnerships that allow for additional accessibility while obviously maintaining a strong business model?
Well, like any multifaceted problem, you have to take a lot of different angles of attack in order to solve it. One of the unfortunate realities is, as Jason said, it costs so much money to build these types of destinations. Everybody wants the best, right? And the best costs money. And so I think it's a challenge that we face as an industry because, as Jeremy mentioned this morning, a lot of people have this view of youth sports, that kind of goes back to the good old days, the Sandlot days, where all of this stuff was just freely accessible to everyone and nobody had to pay for it. But if we think about how we all live our daily lives, everything that we value, we pay for in some form or fashion. And so we have to, if we value these experiences, we have to start, just accepting the reality that these things cost money. Now, that being said, we understand that there are people with different abilities to pay, and this is where partnerships and kind of partnerships across the public and private sector can be brought to bear to help broaden that access. As you said, Benita, we have a bunch of facilities, especially, unfortunately, facilities that have been built by the public sector that lie fallow a lot of the time and are also poorly maintained. And that's part of the reason why we built the St. James in the first place, is because we recognized that is one of the big problems that we have. But now that people have seen what we've been able to do, and the St. James has kind of been a national showcase for people to come see what's possible, you now have people willing to think more creatively about how they can partner with folks like us, folks like Jason, to design and develop experiences that serve not only kind of a core set of sports experiences, public school kind of physical education needs, as well as wrapping around them ancillary experiences that I think Tim focuses on in a lot of ways, where you try to create these mixed-use communities where an active lifestyle is really what we're all after, and we're kind of athletes of all ages. And so it takes time though. It takes time and it takes a lot of work. But we've started to form a lot of strong relationships across the public and private sector that will allow us to start to create and reimagine these spaces in completely new ways. We're really excited about it.
So Tim, there's something called a pickle mall. And I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, so one of our clients is Pickle Mall. Everybody here laughing because pickleball is kind of taken over the world. Jason has an incredible pickleball concept that he can talk about now or maybe later. But yeah, and the idea is really taking underutilized mall and retail space and converting it into pickleball courts. I think this ties in really nicely to how you're planning out your facilities. So I love this client because they know they're not a restaurant concept. So maybe you've heard of like Chicken and Pickle, which is awesome, by the way. But if you go, it's really catering to kind of a corporate crowd or family crowd, and it also has pickleball. And they do great business. But ground up construction for one of those facilities is $12 to $15 million. So they've got big private equity behind them. They've done an excellent job getting their unit economics right. But with Pickle Mall, it's a lot different. It's how can we create the best possible playing experience for the most efficient price. So maybe they're not the absolute lowest cost versus some of their competitors, but they're going to guarantee you like the clear lanes. They're going to have video. You can autonomously book and go 24/7. They're bringing down the cost and overhead with the managers. I don't have to get into all that detail, but in terms of, Craig said everybody wants the best facilities. Well, it's important to define best, which I think is what you were just getting at. So best for them is not, marble countertops when you walk in. It's the best possible playing experience. And so because they know their market, they know their consumer, that's just what they're laser focused on. And as a result, they've been able to, they've got one location. We've already signed on for another. We have about another 5 or 6 in the pipeline. They know that they can attract those players who just want to come in. They want to play 5, 6 times a week, and they want to have the best playing experience, and they want to be able to do that affordably.
I would love to hear, Jason, if you have more to share about pickleball and facilities, et cetera.
I'll share it briefly because I'm not sure how relevant it is here, but it's pretty cool. I don't know how many of you can name a professional pickleball player. There are a couple of associations.
We have one at League Apps.
Yeah.
Where is she?
Maybe like 5 or 6 hands went up. But we can certainly name a lot of former athletes. We're all still athletes, but former professional athletes or Olympic athletes, and a large number of them play pickleball. And they love competing. They miss the camaraderie of the locker room or being out on a team. And so we've created a pickleball concept called PBX Pickleball, if you want to look it up, where they come together and they compete against one another, with one another. There's a pro-am sort of activity. It's an event company. There's a pro-am component to it to where, us regular Joes can play with and against, our former heroes or current heroes, that we used to play with. Mm-hmm. You play pickleball? Let's sign you up. Benita.
Me?
Yeah, you play.
Not yet. I got my
PBX.
first pickleball, are they called paddles, rackets?
Yeah.
Paddles and balls at the Women's Sports Foundation dinner. Melissa, did you get it back? Did you get it in your bag? Okay, no, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. A couple weeks ago. And I didn't, to be honest, I'm like, okay, what is this? The way I think it might be a little relevant is this full utilization of the facilities. Right. Because it's interesting, it's been 4 years, like I said, going on this journey with Prince William County Board of Supervisors. And in 2019, the first time we talked about it, we had a whole group of seniors from a local 55-plus community that were speaking out against it. Why would we spend tax dollars for this thing? And this last time, about 2 weeks ago, when I was in front of the Board of Supervisors, there's a whole group. That group was gone, like the ones that were against it. And the biggest group, I had a bunch of kids that were there, and track people, and volleyball people, basketball people. The biggest group of advocates were 55-plus, people who play pickleball, saying, this facility could be really great for us because we can utilize it for pickleball.
You're right.
So,
it is relevant because also, by the way, I don't think pickleball is just a trend. I do think it's here to stay. But, things ebb and flow, right, in terms of what happens. So When we're looking at designing or developing the next generation complex, the vision isn't the facility, right? The vision is what happens inside of the facility, which is what everyone here is delivering on. And the facility needs to be built and designed in a way that can be flexible, diverse, and provide for as much activity as possible. So many public officials who we work with a lot, private-public
That was going to be my
partnerships.
next question about just government and working with them, and I would love any of you to weigh in.
I'm leading into it then. Perfect. Very few, I'm not going to say never, but very few privately funded facilities can pencil out now. It's not never, but very few because of the cost of construction and cost of capital. So some sort of partnership, private-public partnership, because these municipalities have real skin in the game through generating tax dollars, through providing a better quality of life, trying to attract business and residents to their community and retain them and keep them. The mass migration was real over the last couple of years, and it's really competitive at the municipal level right now to keep business, industry, and residents in place. And they see these facilities as an opportunity to do it. What each one of these organizations in the room has the value of, or the benefit, is that you guys are delivering. You're providing those experiences already in a number of these communities. And I would just say, don't take for granted the power and influence that you have when going to a municipal partner to say, hey, we're bringing real value here. Whether it's sports tourism, whether it's local programming, maintaining residents and all of those things, it's a really great head start to go get something done in that private-public partnership realm, which is really critical to getting either a new facility done or renovating some sort of existing assets so that you just have some space to play. Because not everybody is going to have the capability, the capacity, or ability to do 450,000 square feet. Some of y'all just need 25,000 square feet, right, at this point, so you can get out there. So I would just say think creative in that way, take an inventory of the assets that the municipal area and region have, which I'm sure many of you are doing. But there are schools, universities, churches that aren't using their sports assets that can certainly be renovated and expanded on with some sort of partnership at the public level.
Very good. Anything else you guys wanted to add? We're really out of time, but love to
I'll just
closing
add.
thoughts.
Just add on to what Jason said. A lot of the times, the conversation in municipal circles is about sports tourism, and that is understandable because they're looking at generating hotel and F&B sales tax dollars without having to provide schooling and other support services for these folks. But you all contribute to the quality of life in your communities every single day. And as municipalities think about the kind of communities they want to build and how they attract businesses and citizens who want to live and invest in these communities long term, you guys are going to be the ones doing that when the sports tourism event has left. And so make sure that they know that, and you're reminding your political leadership of that, and in order to advocate for being able to have them address your needs as well.
Great. Tim, any
I'll just
closing
finish
words?
with, we started talking about how important understanding your market, your consumer, and doing all the proper analysis is, but I think the headline there is you're storytellers, and being able to tell that story is what's going to matter to the public officials and potential public funding you can get with the private partners you have, and even with like a potential landlord, for example. So I experienced that firsthand with overtime that could not have been possible without the head of city planning in Atlanta saying, oh, I have an overtime sticker on my coffee mug. Like, that meeting went really well. And even with pickleball, it's a new concept, and so there's questions about its credit, their financing, and so having the story really dialed in about how it's going to help the community, who's going to participate, is important. So know the science, but remember the art and the storytelling of really what you're trying to accomplish, and you can do great things.
All right, let's thank Tim, Craig, and Jason for a wonderful panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So